Welcome to Orensha Tech's PowerShell series. We're going to do part 2 of this series, which is all about the help system in PowerShell. And the help system is honestly a great tool. It's going to allow you to become the expert in using PowerShell without having to go to Google or your favorite search engine to look up commands. It's going to allow you to look up the commands right inside of PowerShell. Remember, learn, see how the commands interact with each other. It really is going to solve 90% of your problems to be able to use the help system when you're having trouble with using the commands. Okay, so let's look at some of the different terminology. There are commands, and then there are commandlets. A command is any function or executable, and a commandlet is something that is unique to PowerShell. This is the core type of command in PowerShell. An example of this would be a verb noun, something like get process or new item. So that common verb noun, that's the commandlet, the unique function for PowerShell. And a module is how commands are added to PowerShell. They are a packaged group of commands often related to a single product, such as Exchange Online or Microsoft Teams or Azure AD or Active Directory. Any of those modules are going to load in commands for you to use. So the first step we're going to do is update the help file. So you're going to want to run the command update help. Hit enter, and you're going to let PowerShell do its thing. This is going to make sure that you have the most current help files in your system. And this is something you should do once every month or so. And if you are using a computer that is not connected to the internet, then you can always run the command save help on a computer that is connected to the internet. Take that file, put it onto a file server, and then you can run update help -source, the switch source, to be able to pull the update from that shared file server. And that would look just like this. And then you put the source there. Okay, so going next to how do you call help? There are two main ways that you're going to use help. The first is the actual commandlet, get help. And this is the basic tool to get help about a commandlet. So you run that, you can see generates your standard help file. Now this is nice, but some of the awesome people at PowerShell built a wrapper on top of get help that just adds some more functionality to this. So you run help get process. It's going to pull it up. And now you can see down here at the bottom, there's a more section. If you hit your spacebar, it's going to take you through the full help file, one page at a time. And if you find what you need, you can always hit Q and it will pop you right back out into your command line. If you run clear, it gets rid of everything for you. So how do you use help to find commands? Say you want to do something, but you have no idea what command would do this. So you can actually take help and search with wildcards. Star is your wildcard. If we do one at the beginning and one at the end, it's going to search any command with alias in it. Say you wanted to do something with your JSON file. Okay, we've got convert from and convert to. So this is a way to search based on a term, find your command. Now I need to know, what does convert to actually do? You can space through your help file. I found my information, press Q, you're right back into your command line. Clear it out. So you can use those wildcards. I suggest you use the broadest term possible just so that you can get all of the possible commands that could be related to the problem you're trying to solve. And something we kind of glossed over, but I'll touch base on it now. There's a parameter called name for your help, and that calls out what you're searching for, but it is a positional parameter, and we'll go over this more later in the video. But you don't actually need to call out the positional parameters. So you could run name out file, and that is going to be the same as running help out file. So you don't need to actually specify the name, but that is what it's doing under the hood if you don't specify it. We'll clear this out. And the next thing we're going to look at is the tab completion feature. We don't want to forget about this. So if we go to help, and we know it's register something, we can use our tab completion until we find, that's right, register object event. Okay. Again, Q to quit and clear to get rid of it. And really you're going to want to be using this help if you want to learn about it, but even if you're just looking to come in and remember certain things about this commandlet. So you can use this to get a quick refresher on this command. We've got different examples, description, synopsis. So it's a way to get a quick refresher on a command that you may have forgotten exactly how it works. Okay, and the next thing we're going to look at is a command called get command. And this is a way to also query any kind of command. If we're looking for event, something with event, it's going to take any command, not just commandlets. It's going to find our functions and our applications too, but anything with event in it, it's going to pull up for us. We can use this to come and find the command or commandlet that we're looking for, and then run the help file on that. Okay, so I want get event. So now that I know that that's the name of the commandlet, I can run my help and look up the information about it. And get command has a cool alias, GCM. And you can always use that to save yourself some typing. And really the way to use get command is to use it with the idea of nouns and verbs. So if you run get command and you know it's the noun portion that you're looking for event to hold, okay, it's going to give me anything over here on this right side with events in it. But if I'm looking for the verb get command, specify your verb switch here, and then anything with get in it. Yeah, that's going to pull everything with get, which is a lot. So we'll run our clear, get rid of that. So get command is an awesome tool to discover commands, and then you can use that to run the help on those commands and learn more about them. The next thing we're going to go over is breaking down how that help file actually works and how to use that to learn about the command. So we're going to run help get item, and you can see we've got the name, we've got the short synopsis about this, get the item at the specified location, and then we have the syntax. The syntax is going to show you exactly how you can run this command. And there are two key pieces to look at. There are mandatory parameters and optional parameters. And our mandatory parameters are not going to be surrounded by these brackets, and the optional ones are. So here, our credential is optional because it's surrounded fully by the brackets here. And then our literal path is not surrounded by brackets. So that's mandatory. You need to run this with literal path to be able to make the command function. And if you were to not specify that, it would actually prompt and ask you for that parameter. And you may be asking yourself what the difference is between these two syntaxes here. And these are the different ways that you can run this, and they generally are going to have one difference between them. And in this one, it's going to be the path right here. So you've got path on this one and then literal path here. And you can see on this second one, path actually is surrounded by these brackets, meaning that it is a positional parameter and you don't have to name it. It's going to be the first thing that it's going to look for. So if you put in c-temp without naming path, it's going to know exactly what to do with that information. And then going down, you've got the more detailed description. And then you have some more information about the parameters themselves. So you can come in here and see this is our code signing cert. This is a switch parameter. Required? No. Position? Named, which means you have to name it to run it. No default value, no accepted pipeline input, and these are things that we're going to look at in more detail in later videos in this series. But for now, you can use the help file to come and find out information not only about the general way that the commandlet works, but how each parameter works. And in here, you can actually come and find out some more information about what is the accepted input for each parameter. So credential, it's looking for a PS credential. And here, expiring in days, it's looking for an int 32. Filter is looking for a string. Literal path, it is a string array, which means it could accept multiple different string values there. So you could run a few different file locations against this single command. We can see on this literal path too that we have required is true. Position is named, but then down here for path, required true, but position is 0. So if you had multiple positional parameters, then you'd see 0, 1, 2, and that's the order that this commandlet would be looking for those parameters if they were not named. And then the next thing we're going to look at is the common parameters. So you can see here at the bottom, we have common parameters. And these common parameters are something that applies to every commandlet. And as of right now, there are 11 different ones. And a couple examples of those would be verbose or debug. So these are going to be things that apply to all commandlets. And we can look up more information about those, and we'll do that later in this video. Okay, and then now we're going to look at how to get examples of different commandlets. So to get an example, you're going to want to run help with your commandlet and then run the switch example at the end. And that will pull up some examples of how to run that commandlet. And this is a great tool just to see, okay, how do I use those parameters? How are other people intending that I use this command? So we've got here, and it gives us a description of what that is doing. Get the current directory of a drive. And here it shows that you can actually do the wildcard at the end. So it's a great tool to be able to come in. You don't need to go look at other people's examples on the internet. You can get examples right within PowerShell to then start using immediately. And then if you did want to go out to your browser, I would recommend you actually use the help files still, but we can put in the switch online. We'll run help get item and then run our switch online, and that will take us to our browser, and it gives us all the information about this in an online form. So still the recommended way to look up information. If you do want to go to the browser, you can just run it there, and if this is easier for you to look at, that is the recommended way that we can still get information about the parameters and the commandlet. So now we're going to look up more information about those common parameters. If we run help and then use our wildcards, common. Okay, so we have some of these about files. So if we run help about common parameters, this is going to give us some information about those common parameters. And really you can use that same idea to look up information about anything. So here, it's going to specify our common parameters: debug, error action, error variable, information action. Hit our spacebar, we can go down, and it's going to give us information about each of these common parameters. So I do recommend take some time, read through this. This is going to be awesome to have in your back pocket to know about those common parameters, because they're going to apply to pretty much any commandlet that is available. Okay, so now let's look at some examples of how to use the help system. If you haven't already, go ahead and run update help. And then let's see what we would do if we wanted to output a file. So we've got help. We're going to just look up file. It's going to give us a lot, but let's just look through here and see if we can find anything that calls out outputting a file. Sends output to a file, out file. Okay, perfect. That looks like what we want. So we come here, run help, out file. So now we have our syntax on how to run this. We've got our description. We can hit spacebar and look through each of these parameters to figure out how do we do what we want to do with out file. We've got our literal path here. We've got our force, no clobber, so that we can manage whether it's overwritten or not. We'll clear this and look up another example. Let's just look up information about processes. So here it returns anything with processes in it. And you can see that it's not only searching the name for something with process in it, it's going to be searching the whole entire help file for anything that names process. So that could be super helpful. And if not, if you're looking for just commands that have process in them, then we're going to use our get command process. And that will return anything with process in the actual name of the command. Remember, we can always use our alias there, GCM, and run process. So another great way to look up information, you know the keyword, and you just run help or get command, and you can delve right into the help file for that command. It's going to give you your syntax, the different ways that you can run these, And something I didn't mention earlier, but all of these options here in the syntax, these are going to be mutually exclusive. So there's going to be only one way that you can run these. So you can't run two different types of these at the same time. And that's where they're all going to have a variance of at least one different parameter. You can come in and learn about all the parameters, whether they're required, whether they're positional, whether they have pipeline input, accept wildcard characters. So it's a great way to learn about any command without relying on other people's description or other people's examples or using Google at all, really. You can come in, find out about it, and then pop right back into PowerShell and use that command to start learning more about it. So if you like this video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe, and watch out for part 3 of this video series where we're going to go over actually running commands a little bit more in our next video. So thank you for watching and have a good day.